And I think that's tough for a lot of people to get that mindset because we exist in a world where we want massive change. We want big grandiose things, and it becomes so hard for us to look at the little things and say, well, if I just make some small changes, there's going to be a large impact. It's hard for us to aggregate that in our minds, right? So how do you break through that? How do you change your mindset and convince yourself that the little things will add up to the big thing when we're not wired for that? It's just so difficult to change our wiring and go about changing the way we think about that.
It's a really good question. So I'm going to give two or three answers because I think it depends on the person. Like when I'm thinking about the guy that was lying in bed every day named Gershi, so he loved to read, but he couldn't get himself to to read in a disciplined way. But what I would have told him is first start with reading. Um, there are lots of really, really good self-help books out there. And the reason why I'm saying that is not just because self-help books are fun, is that data can change your mindset. If you read books that are written responsibly, what they show you and reveal to you and start to help move in your mind is that there, if you want to lift a rock that's 200 pounds and you try to do it yourself, it might not work. You'll find that, like you'll find ways to push something or roll it. But what if instead I gave you a tool that can allow you to lift it onto a dolly? The books that are written well, something like a James Clear book, and especially in the introduction to the first couple of pages, you'll find things already where they'll tell you, what if I could make a difference and a change in your life based on knowledge? And having more knowledge is going to be the power tool that you need in order to do something. If you don't know how to change a light bulb, right? So you can try to figure it out, or you can read about it. The light bulb's a bad example, because that one hopefully you can figure out. But like there's so many other things, like I'll give you an example of amazing leverage. You want to know with money. You want to do something like that could really really empower your kid. Teach them about compounding interest, right? The idea, if you were to take, there's an amazing stat, by the way. The S&P 500 on average grows about 8% a year. There's a debate on exactly what it is, but 8%. Did you know that if you put $7,500 into the S&P 500 when a kid is born, and then you leave it till he's 65, there'll be over $1 million. You don't do anything except for leave it there. There'll be $1 million in his account every year, right? The 8% growth is going to build on itself. It's compounding interest. Compounding interest, James Clear talks about in life. He says the change of like drinking water every day will affect your mind. Your mind is now going to be sharper and it's going to affect your work. Your work is going to be right. It'll bring more joy because you're more fulfilled, and then you're going to come home happier. Your happiness at home is going to generate more movement, right? I'm making up the line. You follow? And none of those are unreasonable jumps, right? So the idea is number one is gaining knowledge. So a book is one of those ways, and I'm a firm believer in that. But I think that nowadays most people are gaining their knowledge, especially if you're having a hard time with things like a 15-second hack or your video shorts or things like that. And that's actually part of what we're trying to do in our education, even on the website and on Instagram and YouTube and all these things, is trying to provide small snippets of information. So you want to make a big change, do this small thing. I'll tell you what the one that I worked on today, which I love. It's a tiny hack. It takes so little effort and it has such a big impact on your day, and that's music. Do you know that if you consistently have music playing, they will show, I think it's within about 2 weeks, that there's a 21% lift in joy in the house. So in the beginning of your day, like you take I don't know, what's the song Happy from Despicable Me, and you play that, or what's his name, the Have It All by what's his name, Mraz?
Jason
By
Mraz.
Jason Mraz, right? So those are my kids' favorite ones. Like that's what you use for starting your day. You play it, and the energy in the house is different. And when we don't have it on, I know the difference also. It's like a tiny change, but the entire energy in the house when they start the day is different. It affects the kids' focus. By the way, they will focus better during the day as a result of having music on in the morning, right? So here it is. It's like you're trying to change your life, and it's like it feels like too much, and you don't know what thing to do, or it feels like it's too small. So having a place to go to access hacks, right? Or the idea of a hack is really like a small change that has huge gains, right? That I think is a really important and empowering thing. The more you see the data on it, like really database stuff, not just like some guy in a tight t-shirt with big pecs, like telling you this is how to do it. But what's it called? The idea is that with data like that, it's empowering, and so that's the idea. It's like you need your power tools, and this is how you get your power tools.
That's awesome. All right, so I mean, look, at the end of the day, it sounds like whether you believe it or not, you just take that first small step, and you're going to see the results. And when you do that, it becomes self-serving, and you're gonna keep going. Any particular hack other than the music one that you want to share that's been helpful to you recently?
Yeah, and I see the time, so I'll try to use this to wrap up. So I'm really glad you asked that. This one is going to be interesting. So there's I don't know if it's at the trillions, at billion, maybe $1 trillion industry that came up recently, and that's the world of coaching. And I'll explain to you why I'm bringing it up. I think that whenever I have a conversation with people about coaching, they ask me like, "Oh, what are you doing?" So I explain that coaching is actually part of what I'm doing. It's not the entire operation. I'm just doing education, but the inevitable look that I get from people's faces or the lines. I remember someone that I really, really like look up to. I was speaking to, and he's like, everyone and their dog is a coach these days. And I'm like, thank you. I had to go with stride, but at the same time, there's a reason why it's a billion or even close to $1 trillion industry. It's because people want to change, and sometimes the thing that you want is on the other side of a journey, and sometimes you're not going to know how to walk that journey. And the power of a coach is unbelievable for two reasons. Number one is that there's data that it's an amazing science insight. If you're ever standing in front of a mountain, right, you stand right next to a mountain and it looks really high, hard to climb. It's wild, but if another person stands next to you, do you know that the mountain looks a lot shorter?
I do. I heard that from you.
I heard it actually from a professor. His name is Dr. David Pelkovitz, who was brilliant. I'm a huge fan of him, and he brought it up, and it stuck with me for a long time. When you're going through a challenge or facing one, even if you're in like a great place in your mind, but you know something tough is coming on, guess what you could do? It's very simple. Bring a friend, and I'll give you a lot of examples of how that can work. Sometimes having another person by gives you insight, right? Meaning they'll see something that you didn't see. Sometimes it'll make you see something you didn't see, right? Because if you're facing a challenge, and I know this from my own experience, and I'm sure you can borrow from this, you have this idea in your head, and all of a sudden you talk about it, or even you're supposed to talk about it, and then you feel like dumb about it, like, I don't really know how to phrase this, and all of a sudden you're realizing that there's a big hole in the logic, right? And sometimes they'll say something, you're like, shoot, I knew that, and I'm annoyed that I didn't come up with it, and I feel stupid. But if you're talking to a friend or someone that you trust, who's there with you and holding your hand through the process, like just the idea of having someone else to bounce, like as a sounding board for your own perceptions and your own ways of thinking, as well as from hearing what they have to say, it'll help you shape your journey in a much more efficient way. What a coach does, which is more powerful, there's two elements. Number one, and I know this stinks, but when you pay for something, you push much harder. You feel like I'm going to get what I put into this investment. And
it helps skin in the game.
Skin in the game, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's the right term. I find there were a couple different programs, that as that we've been exploring and learning from in this journey. And months later, just remembering what it cost forces me to go back to be like, yeah, I learned a lot of really good things there. I'm going to push myself to re-engage it. When you have skin in the game, you're pushing yourself much harder. I got to take something out of it. And aside from the pushing, is that coaches, assuming it's a good one, they're really, really good at what they do. I found that at least the coach, that my favorite one that I used, for understanding how to learn how to coach is, Jacob Rupp, and he is phenomenal. He's an amazing coach. He's helped so many people on their journeys, whether it's journeys of, he does stuff in family, he does stuff in sales, he does like all these different things, and I found that he's like just the experience. He's really, really skilled in helping a person bring out of themselves what it is that they're looking for, and help them through the process of analyzing. A little bit, he'll have his own insights too, but his big philosophy is like, you have the answers inside of you. You have the strength inside of you, you have the gifts inside of you, and what you need is someone who's going to stand there and let you find it inside yourself. But anyway, so that's, so I guess the hack that I'm really here to talk about is the hack of another person, is someone who you trust, someone, and it's available. It's in abundance. If you're feeling alone, so there are ideas of coaches, but there's also hopefully someone in your Rolodex, even if it's someone they haven't spoken to in a while, you can pick up the phone and be like, hey, I need a little bit of help.
Sounds great. No, some good advice, and it just makes sense that you can't always go at it alone. And there's a lot of value in finding people you trust, and people are willing to help you. You just have to be able to reach out. Right?
Yeah. Anyways, Mr. D, Ellie, it's really been a pleasure. It's so nice for you to, or it's so nice to be here and for you to just hear and let me reflect and share some of those thoughts. And I hope for all those listeners out there and for you over here that maybe you get a little hack or two or something to gain that could help you grow on your own journey.
There's a lot of good stuff here, and I'm glad people have the opportunity to hear you explain the foundations of thriving and what it means and how people can take advantage of this in their own lives to better themselves.
Amazing. All right. See you next time. Bye.